Hello, everybody. I'm here today with David Hancock. He's the founder of Morgan James Publishing and Wall Street Journal's best-selling author. Hey, David, welcome to this week's Business Spotlight series.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege to be here. Huge fan of ActionCOACH.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking some time with us today. I'll just roll right into the questions. Tell us a little bit about your business and how long you've been doing it.
Oh, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. So we are an unconventional traditional publisher. And what that means is I, as an author, starting way back in the 90s here in Tidewater, Virginia, realized that publishing wasn't necessarily geared for every entrepreneur. I realized that there were pros and cons with traditional publishing and pros and cons with the self-publishing market. Again, either way, either version's great for depending on who it was. But for me, I found that there was some lacking, especially in the relationship and the help, because most entrepreneurs have great ideas or small businesses have great ideas, but they don't know what to do with it next. And publishers for that market had great business models, except they didn't know how to help authors sell books. So we launched Morgan James in 2003 with the idea of how could we add the value of a traditional house with credibility, distribution, opportunity, things like that, but stay the heck out of the way of the entrepreneur, but give them the tools they need to be successful. And a lot of built-in guerrilla marketing. And so 20 years later, we've got this really awesome publishing model where we talk to amazing authors, get their books into bookstores, then help them figure out the, oh crud, now what?
Okay. Yeah, because I know, we have a lot of our coaches have written and published books, and it's not usually it's not a moneymaker for them, right? It's about credibility and things like that. So, thinking you're going to make a lot of money because you write a book might be some grand ideas, but what's been your experience with that?
Yeah, if you're absolutely right. Most authors make more income and opportunity because they wrote the book than they ever will from the book. Now, from a publisher perspective, from our perspective, the only way we make money is by those books selling. But an amazing thing happens. The less you try to sell a book, the easier it is to sell it. Because like nobody wants to buy another book. We all have books that we haven't finished. We all have books we haven't started. But once they realize that you're the right person saying the right thing at the right time, and they feel like they can have a perceived or real relationship with you as an authority in your space, books can sell by the thousands. But still, that opportunity is open for speaking gigs, other products, other books, other services, all because of that subconscious power of the book.
Yeah, so you mentioned you help with the now what, right? After that. So can you elaborate that on a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. From a marketing perspective, I've got deep roots in guerrilla marketing. Jay Conrad Levinson and I were best friends. He was my coach in the 90s when I was a banker here in Hampton Roads. And he taught me the power of the book, but also the power of how to market the book. So from a guerrilla marketing perspective, the now what is, okay, now you have a product, widget, book, or whatever, how do we get the eyeballs on it? Well, first, the best time to start marketing your product, whether it's a book or a widget or services, is the moment you decide to create it. Because as classic guerrilla marketing teaches us, people need to hear about it, hear about you, hear about the product, hear about the service, as many as 9 times before they realize they think they've heard of it before, to as much as 27 times before they realize, I think I wanted to go buy that thing. So it takes consistent messaging, establishing that your product or service or book or whatever is the right thing, and just talking it up and doing very little selling in those early days, but just letting people know that you've got your products and services, that it can change their life, and that you're not hounding at them with the selling thing, and then that perception really can take over. I mean, that's a 20,000 foot view, but that's kind of what that is. The now what is, what does it take to create those conversations, have that engaged community, whether social media or online or off, to actually having people buy your stuff and then referring others to you. Because you get to a certain point where your audience are your best salespeople. It just takes patience, which is another guerrilla marketing characteristic.
Yeah, so it's like, you mentioned start doing it as soon as you think of the idea. It's like creating anticipation in people, right? That they can't wait for it, right? So having a launch date or having, hey, so you can build it. So that's great points there.
Oh yeah.
Did COVID impact your business in any way?
Absolutely. COVID affected most of the businesses out here, and some of them pretty drastically. It was really tough on publishing, and we're blessed to have survived it. But we are probably one of the few, if not like single digit number of industries that our products are sold to the trade, bookstores, wholesalers, libraries, 100% returnable for life. Started back in the Depression when publishers were trying to help bookstores stay open, but it never changed. So when bookstores started to shutter or start to close and stay closed, the quickest way they could pay their bills was to just return their inventory. And they did so by the thousands. In fact, we got over 175,000 returns from bookstore closings in, a 9-month span. It was terrifying. But, preparing for something like that's impossible. But it impacted us. So it just gave us an opportunity to maximize that, the business of the wholesalers and try to get them resold through online retailers. And we pivoted, started doing some more consumer direct, sales, where we were just relying on bookstores and authors to sell their books to the public. We had to get involved, and we always did a little bit, never did enough, but we really had to step it up during COVID to help us get rid of those books, because they were all paid for. So we had to give the money back, most of which already had royalties or commissions paid to those authors. So it was a scramble.
Yeah.
Many publishers didn't quite make it. So I feel blessed. But yes, that impacted us.
So any of those things that you pivoted with, are you still doing any of those today? I mean, as we're coming out of it, is it something that you're going to keep doing?
Yeah, we're absolutely going to continue to do some more consumer direct fulfillment because it's working. And we're looking at it as a complement to whatever the author's doing, because my vision has always been, how could I stay out of the way of the author, but add value to them? So we're just trying to continue that idea. But some cool things did come up. We were able to learn new ways to leverage the power of the electronic versions of the book. So we created new paths for authors to be able to sell or give away their books when they couldn't do it in person physically, doing it electronically. And that worked out really, really well. We're definitely going to keep that. We've really stepped up and enhanced our program, where anybody who buys a print book from Morgan James, like a physical book, they can get the ebook edition for free. So as an unexpected value add, so that, because if they don't, they weren't expecting it, then a lot of times people think, hey, I already bought the book, why should I also have to pay for the ebook? And knowing you can't take every single physical book with you when you go someplace, even if you're going to go shutter in the mountains to stay away from everybody else. So that worked out really, really well. So we enhanced that feature, during COVID, and we're definitely going to keep doing that, because we do capture the buyer's name and email address, and we give those to our authors so they can develop a relationship with their consumer, which who doesn't want that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about adding value, right? Rather than trying to discount to get, to sell the book, add value to get, for it. So
yeah. And readers beget readers. The more you please your readers or your clients, the more, they talk about you, hopefully in a good way. But that, again, like I said, ultimately will be your biggest sales force.
yeah, absolutely.
Using it.
So David, could you share your greatest learning experience since you've been a business owner?
Oh my gosh. I would say perception. Perception is the reality, and it is a part of guerrilla marketing as well. But you need to look and feel and act like the success that you're going to be. Now, you can't fake it till you make it per se, but you definitely need to make sure that you're operating on a high level, knowing clearly what your goals are, and letting your audience fully understand where you're coming from. I'll give you an example. As you and I had talked earlier before the show started, we are a Virginia-based company. We started here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, which isn't normal for a business book publisher. You think New York when you think of a business book publisher, but I love it here. My family's here. I get roots here. I don't want to go anywhere. But I realized pretty quickly that having that perception, we got authority to operate in New York with our local attorney, of course, and set up shop in Long Island, because that's all I could afford back in the day. And we changed our branding from a Virginia publisher, though I love Virginia, to a New York publisher. And I stayed here. We hired just a small staff in the city, and everything doubled. It was almost laughable, but just that whole perception of who we are as an entity. And then from then forward, we always looked bigger than we were. And it was that professional web presence, the professional material, our spot on branding, our clear messaging, all that really gives us the power of being an established publisher that's in it for the long haul, which is a great tip for the small businesses they're rising to the occasion, but may not have polished off their branding or their websites or their marketing material. Got to do that, because that perception, albeit mostly unconscious, can have a significant impact on the bottom line.
Yeah, that is a great point, because some consumers have expectations, like you said. New York is the center of books and theater and things like that, and so having that presence there, and even art, right? So An art gallery down here in Newport News can have as great as artists galleries in New York City, but they're going to sell for 10 times more up there, right? Because
Exactly.
the perception is they must be good because they're in New York. So that is a great point. So what have you learned about yourself during your journey as an entrepreneur?
I've learned that patience is a virtue that you can't pray for. Our overnight success has taken 20 years in the making, and many, many times I was eager for it to already be here, and struggle through the challenges of growing a small business. From some things that I was good at, or the things I had to delegate that with people that were better at it than me. I learned that just to keep pressing forward and let patience take over. Those old cliche comments about the stories of 3 feet from gold or acres of diamonds that we've all heard, they're true. A lot of times, a lot of small businesses, a lot of authors, which in essence, every author is a small business owner, their book is their product. They'll give up too quickly. You get to a point where it's uncomfortable, or someone close to you, and this is really big in our space, someone close to us will say, hey, you've been talking about this topic, this book, this widget, whatever, for all these years. It's time to start talking about something else, or change the way you're talking about it. I've heard that slogan forever, but that's when the public is just now starting to pay attention. And if you can have that patience to press through, to keep on, don't change anything, because every time you change something, you've got to start over. People have got to hear about that new brand, or that new phrase, or that new slogan, or however you're talking about your product then, all over again, to get to that 9 to 27 points again. So I learned early on just to ride out that patience and understand that it will happen as long as you're persistent, consistent, and relevant. And of course, relevancy is all about your knowledge that you've got something, so you're as relevant as you make yourself to be relevant. But patience, I think, is the short answer.
Yeah, no, great. I love the elaboration on that. So, David, what's the future look like for the company, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward?
Oh my gosh, we have such lofty goals, which I think everybody should. Realistic short-term goals, really lofty big-term, long-term goals that help us get there. We're continuing to expand our presence. Now we're in just about every country in the world. We've got offices in New York, Virginia, Nashville, in Vancouver, Canada, London, Australia. We've got printing and facilities and distribution in India and the Eastern Europe. And my vision for going global is slowly getting there. So that's really good. But my ambition is to still have that boutique feel, where we have real relationships with our clients, which are our authors, and real value adding and clear messages. And again, the more that we can help them succeed, the more that we'll succeed. The challenges that we see is just the ever changing landscape, with supply chain issues to just physical bookstores, for decades have been seemingly waning and growing and waning and growing. So I think we'll figure out new ways to sell books to consumers, new ways to market the books, which is kind of fun with my marketing background. So I think the challenges would just be keeping up with it, or, as I like to say, try to stay ahead of those curves and create our own opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just two more questions. What advice would you give to anybody thinking about going into business?
Entrepreneurial bliss is a real thing. Sometimes if you dig too deep into the details, you may never start. So one of my first suggestions would be, if you got a passion or a really good idea or a way to solve a problem, dig in. You don't have to know all the answers yourself. You can always bring in, experts that can help you get to the goal, but get in the woods and start making it happen. Let the details come together. Now, I'm not saying just be fly by night and figure it out as you go along. Just understand that any process is going to be more difficult than you think, but your passion, your enthusiasm, and your persistence will get you through it. And understanding when to delegate to help fill out those gaps that you might not have is very, very key. So if you got a good idea and you want to get started in your business, I say take the leap. You don't necessarily have to quit your day job yet to get there. Heck, I founded Morgan James when I had a full-time day job as a local banker. I didn't quit my job for 3 years. I mean, I had to figure it out and learn it and earn some income before I felt comfortable enough to quit. So if you have that opportunity, try that. But I say do it, because it can change your life, and hopefully, if you got the right product, change the life of your clients and their families as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear from so many people that I talk to that they want to do it, but it's not the right time. The time is not right, and it's never going to be the right time.
Never.
Right?
It's like starting a family. There's never a right time.
So yeah, you just got to jump in and do it. So last question: any offers that you'd like to include in the newsletter?
I would love to share a free copy of my most recent book, if that would be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a book called Performance Driven Giving. It's all about the power of being generous in business and in life. So if you go to performancedrivengift.com, that's performancedrivengift.com, you can download a copy of the book for free, including the audio. And my thinking behind that is, if I can help you be successful and you like the book and you talk about it, well, I'll get more book sales. So, but that's part of the fun.
Well, definitely we'll add that. Not only you just said it, but we'll also put it in the newsletter in print with the link so they can jump on that and take advantage of it. Thanks for offering that. That's a great gift. Um,
Absolutely. And that's part of my Wall Street Journal best-selling series. So honored to share.
Excellent. So, well, David, that wraps up the interview. Really nice job. Really, really nice talking with you. Thanks so much for taking time with us today.
Oh, it's my privilege. Thank you. Anytime.